In this video, I'm going to show you how to bring in some precast concrete columns. The precast concrete work is going to be done to the third structure, this one right here. The first thing I'm going to need to do is to bring in a family that has the precast column. So first of all, I'm going to go to level 1, and then I'm going to go to Insert, Load Autodesk Family. You can type in Precast in the search bar here, and then scroll down until you get to one that is called Precast Rectangular Column with Multi-Layer Corbels, and load that. Now we're going to need to make a bunch of changes to it, but I think it may be easiest or best to bring one of them in and begin making modifications to it, and then you can look at how those changes impact the design of the column. I'm going to go to Architecture and Column, and you're going to see that it brought in a 12 by 12 two-level column. First thing I want to do is edit the type. Okay. Instead of a 12 by 12, we are going to have ours be 10 by 10. It will still be 2 levels, but we're going to have 3 different types. And the first one I'm going to create is going to be called Center. And I'll say OK. Now, some of the changes that we'll make include changing it from 1 foot to 10 inches. Okay, I'm going to apply it, and I'm going to say OK. Now I'm going to bring one of these in, but before I do that, let's change the setting to height and level 3. And I'm just going to place one here in the center of this structure. Now let's have a look at it in 3D. So I think I placed it in the wrong one. Let's erase it and let's bring it into the correct one. It should go in the 3rd structure. So again, height, level 3. Let's just place it there, and we'll have a look at it in 3D and see what other kinds of changes need to happen. All right, so there it is, sitting on top of the slab there. And what you'll notice here, there are a series of what we call corbels. Now, I guess because this is the default and the expectation is that you're going to change it, it's got 2 different shapes of corbels. These here on the right and left here are rectangular corbels. On the back side, we have a sloped corbel. We're going to make all of ours this sloped type. Before we do that, I'm going to go to the south elevation. I want to check and see where everything is relative to our various levels. Okay, so right now it's going all the way up to level 2. I'm going to drop it so that it is minus 8 inches from that level. What we'll have is a slab that runs over the top, and we want the top of that slab to be at level 3. All right, now I'll go back to my 3D view and proceed with making revisions to that precast column. So I'll click on it, and I'll edit the type. So for the corbels, we don't need any on the north and south. So I'm going to change that from 2 to 0. And the same thing goes for the north. Okay. And for these 2, instead of rectangular corbels, let's make them sloped. Okay. Now we'll make some more changes perhaps, but before we do that, let's apply them, say OK, and see how those changes affected the design. All right, so I lost the two that are on the west side. Let's go back and have edit type. I'm going to change this value to 2, Y. Okay, now we've got two pairs of columns, one on the north side, one on the east side, and one pair on the west side. All right, more changes. One thing is that we're going to want to change the width of them so that they are the full width of the column. And we're going to eliminate this beveled corner, which is called a chamfer. So let's go back into the column. And I'm going to scroll down, or I'm going to go down to the corbel width west. Let's make this 10. I'm going to be putting beams on top of there that are 10 inches wide. These will stay the same. Where it says chamfer, so that bevel at the corner is a chamfer. Change that to 0. If you remember working in AutoCAD, chamfer is a tool that allows you to sort of make a beveled edge or beveled corner. Okay, I'm going to say apply and OK. All right, so there's my column, and I still need to make more changes to it, but some of these changes will be made in the properties window. The one thing, you can see that they're shifted. They're not centered on the column. I want to fix that. So I want to make the west side and the east side at 0 and apply that change. Now they're aligning, so the face of each of them is in the correct spot. All right, next set of changes. There's a whole bunch of corbel distances, and that's sort of setting up the height of the corbel relative to the top of the column. I'm going to have a 20-inch beam that sits here. So I'm going to change the corbel that is on the east side here, 1'2" to 20 inches, which is the same as 1'8". And I'll make that same change to the west side. Why? Okay, those drops. Now for the other one, I'm going to move them down so that they are close to level 2. Change them to 1310. So that's for the east and the west. Apply. Okay, let's back up and have a look. All right, so now that's much lower. Let's go to the south elevation. We have 8 inches here. I'm going to check the dimension from the top of the corbel to level 2. Measure, look here. Right click for the snap override for perpendicular. 2 feet 6 inches. So that's going to give me a 20-inch beam plus an 8-inch hollow core slab plus 2 inches of topping slab on top of the hollow core. All right, that column is ready to be copied. So I'm going to put one in the middle and one on the far side. And I'll do that from level 1. Click on the column, copy, pick a point. My grid is 25 feet. Just make 2 of those, 25 feet. Right, go back to 3D view. So now we've got these 3 columns, and we'll have beams that rest on those corbels. Now I need to make a copy of these columns for the 3 that will go here. So I'm going to go back to the column, architecture column, and I'm going to do edit type. And this time I'm going to make a duplicate. And this one, instead of being called center, will be called east. Okay. So changes that will happen here on the east corbel or the east columns, I want to remove the east corbels. So I'm only going to have them on the west side. The other changes here, the other settings should remain the same. So right, I'm going to go back to level 1 and I'll go back and reinitiate. So this will be level 3. Change that up there. And I'll go ahead and place that column at the corner. Go back to 3D view. Okay, let's see how it looks from the south. Well, let's go ahead and make the same changes that we made to the other one. So let's see here, the west corbel. It's going to be 8, and this one will be 13, 8, 10, and apply. Check that. Oh, I put this one in the wrong row. We don't have a third corbel on that side, so let's do 13 here. The other numbers don't matter. Okay, let's go back to our south view, make sure everything looks okay, looks the same, except for the top. So I'm gonna need to reset top. So I will scroll up to here where it says level 3. I'm going to say minus 4 inches. High. Okay. Let's just double check this corbel to make sure it's the same 2 feet 6 inches below level 2. Measure here, right click, snap overrides perpendicular. 2. I did that incorrectly. Let's take a look at that. It must have made the adjustments automatically. So let's go back down here. Okay, I see what I've done incorrectly. Let's make another little change, same as this one. Instead of -4, this should be -8 and apply. Okay, and let me double check my measurements here. Right click, snap overrides perpendicular, 2 feet 6. And I'll just check this top one too. 1 foot 8. Okay, everything looks good with that one. I want to make sure that they align so our beams have a place to rest. So now I'm going to go to level 1, make a copy of this, and I'll repeat this process one more time. Oops. For the columns on the west side. Click on the copy. Review. Okay, so everything's looking fine now. I'm going to go to 1. Go to architecture column, make one more copy. I'll edit the type. I'll duplicate. This one is going to be the west. Okay. So I'll just change a few numbers here. This one is going to have 2 corbels on the east side of that column, no corbels on the west. Okay. Level 3 is where I want to be. Place it right. Oops. And move it over from this point to the column center line. Try one more time. All right. Definitely easier to just reinsert it. So column, architecture, column, and west. All right, let's take a look at 3D. Okay, we got it from the south. That way we can take a look at the heights, click on it. Base is fine. This should be -8, not -4, -8. And then we can scroll down and adjust those heights. Let's see here, the east side in this case will be 1 foot 8. And this number 2 will be -13. Okay. I'm going to go to level 1, make my copies. Copy 1 and that'll be 25 feet. And copy 2 will be 25 feet above, not 25 inches. Click on the column, copy, add it in 3D. And we're finished with our precast concrete columns.